What are you doing here?
What?
Hey, what are you wandering around here for?
I'm looking for Albie. Where is he?
Henry? What's happened? You look troubled.
Sorry, sir, but I have to speak with Albie. It's urgent.
He just went to your room. Is everything all right?
I don't know. Sorry. Christ, Albie! What happened? Are you alright?
I am, yes. But it looks like we've been robbed.
Why? And who did it, for Christ's sake?
Gentlemen, please. Keep it down. You're disturbing the patients. For God's sake. What happened here? What a mess.
What do you think? Someone was clearly looking for something.
But there's nothing of value here.
Well, actually...
Albie! You brought them here? What were you thinking?
And was I supposed to leave them unsupervised?
And? Were they stolen?
Thank the Lord. I still had them on me.
Can someone tell me what exactly was nearly stolen?
As you know, Henry, I spent a good part of my life at King Wenceslas's court, tending to his health. Thanks to that, I learned much about his private life, what ailed him, how and when he got injured, and what treatments I used. I recorded all my findings and methods, partly in case anyone cast doubts on them, and partly for others to copy, if necessary. If these detailed records were to fall into the wrong hands, I dare not imagine the consequences.
Plenty of folk would pay handsomely for them.
Or tried to steal them for that very reason. Who could have got in and made such a mess?
I was busy tending the sick. I noticed nothing.
Nor did I, I'm afraid. There's work here for 3 more physicians.
That actually made it quite easy for the culprit.
But we still don't know who to suspect.
Surely you realize the abbot himself might be interested in those records.
Father Jan? Nonsense. We've known each other for years.
Not quite well enough. When he heard you were coming, he was pressing me to persuade you to let him read them.
But that's out of the question. Absolutely not.
That's exactly what I told him. The look on his face. If looks could kill, I'd be dead.
How did he even hear about them?
Their existence is no secret. Even King Sigismund mentioned them to me once or twice. And if he ever said anything in front of the abbot...
And the thief waited until the monastery was closed?
So, Albic isn't leaving. Even if he wanted to.
Let's not jump to conclusions. And don't start pointing fingers. Henry, go and ask Brother Benedict and Dinesh in the infirmary if they noticed anything. Maybe we'll get lucky.
All right, then. I'll return to my patients and pretend nothing's amiss. No need to alarm them over this.
Right. Agreed.
Lord have mercy.
Whoever it was, they went through everything thoroughly. The lock's not damaged. Someone had the key.
Everything's upside down.
You'd best move along.
Did you notice anything suspicious this past hour?
One of the sick men has been throwing up constantly, and I suspect another one's faking it to skip work.
No. I need to know if anyone's been nosing around our room.
I spent most of my time with the vomiting one, or out in the yard scrubbing his bedding. I didn't see anyone.
Someone went through our room, or rather tossed it all about. Likely looking for something.
And what about the alchemy lab? Was that turned over too?
No. I think that one's untouched.
Oh, thank God. I'll go check it anyway, just to be sure. Was anything stolen?
That's the thing. Nothing was taken, so we don't even know what they were after.
I should have been more watchful, right? I'm sorry. I promise I'll keep a better eye on things from now on.
Don't beat yourself up. It's not your fault. I think I need some treating.
Is that so? You don't seem to be suffering too much. Forgive me, I have much to do.
God be with you.
I heard you've been having some trouble getting supplies for the infirmary.
That's right. Old Julian seems to think the sick can live on decoctions and ointments. We get nothing but scraps.
Well, maybe I could try speaking to the Salarius myself and see if I can, persuade him.
I won't stop you, but I've tried everything I could think of. What's your plan?
This is serious. If I can't get through to him, I might have to force him somehow.
Force him? How?
Don't worry. No need to prepare another bed at the infirmary just yet. But if I put a bit of pressure on him, he might give in and agree.
I won't lie, I've thought of that too. But be careful. The walls have ears around here.
Did you see anyone go in or out of our room?
A monk go in. I couldn't say who.
A monk? You mean Benedict?
No, it wasn't him. But hard to say. Damn it, why do they all look the same in here?
It's not exactly helpful, I know. Any idea when that was?
Roughly an hour ago, maybe 2. Has something happened?
Damn it. Never mind. Better if you ask Zacharias. Can I ask you something else?
Of course.
Serving as King Sigismund's personal physician must be a huge responsibility, eh?
Responsibility, too. But above all, it's constant alertness. You have to know how to act, but also how to anticipate. And even though it is not talked about, even kings are only human and can still fall gravely ill.
Albig mentioned the two of you treated King Wenceslas once.
That's right. It all turned out fine in the end, but there was a moment even Albig was worried it was beyond his capabilities.
What was wrong with Wenceslas then?
As his physician and confidant, Albig kept it to himself, but I had my suspicions. Now that I care for his brother, I can deduce what's hereditary and what Wenceslas brought upon himself with his, well, let's say, more unrestrained lifestyle.
Is King Sigismund ill?
If he was, I surely wouldn't be discussing it with you. Nonetheless, there's no need to worry. His Highness is in good health. And if anything were to change, I'm never far away.
What do you mean?
A few years back, someone tried to poison the king. They mixed it into his cup of wine.
And he drank it?
Thankfully, I noticed the odd color and sediment at the bottom. They had a waiter try the wine, and, well, I couldn't save him, unfortunately. Since then, there's been a shortage of waiters at the royal court. Strangely enough, nobody wants to do the job.
No wonder. Thanks. That'll be all.
No problem.
I spoke with Benedict and Dennis. Neither noticed a thing.
I thought as much. We've all had our hands full here. So, we still know nothing.
I might have something, but I'm not sure yet how it ties to those records.
What do you mean?
I went down to the crypt, and I found open tombs and rotting corpses.
Good God!
No sign of a mass grave, though. just individual tombs.
That's both good and bad news. At least we can now rule out the plague. But if the workers caught something from the air around those tombs, then anyone else could catch it too. Why did they even open them?
They were probably looking for something inside. I found this sketch.
That looks like the emblem of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. But why would they look for it among deceased abbots? Even putting aside that it's sacrilege, I don't see the connection.
Nor do I. But there must be one, because they locked me in the crypt over it.
What?
I managed to get out and ran straight back to you. But I was interrupted by this ransacked room.
Maybe we'd better keep all this to ourselves. For now, at least. You might ask Crispin about the coat of arms too. With luck, you'll find something in the archives that sheds some light on how it all connects to those open tombs. But best do it tomorrow. This evening's been more than enough. One adventure a day is plenty.
Agreed. Let's clear up the room, then sleep.
We'll be wiser come morning.
Yapping beast. Kick its ass. You stop that, for Christ! Oh, God. Fuck's sake. Good morning, everyone. I trust you've had a decent sleep. The sick are waiting, and being tired doesn't excuse us from our duties.
All right, give me a moment. Then we'll go and check on the patients. And where's Benedict, anyway?
If I may, gentlemen. Haven't you heard? There was a fire here last night.
A fire? Here at the monastery?
The small shed by the mill house burned down, but it was probably just an unfortunate accident. Thank the Lord it's all over now.
And no one was hurt?
Well, that's the thing. No one burned, but there were 2 men in the shed, or rather, 2 bodies.
Bodies? Whose were they, for God's sake?
That... I don't know, sir.
Who found them? And how did he get them out?
Elijah, one of the lay brothers. He ran into the flames thinking he could save them, but they were already dead.
And what was he doing outside in the middle of the night? You don't suppose he had something to do with it?
He's never been any trouble. There's no reason to suspect him.
And how do you know they didn't die in the flames? Just because they weren't burnt to cinders doesn't prove anything.
I didn't see them, but they said there were no burns, and it didn't look like they'd suffocated either.
So, how did they end up there? What killed them? Didn't anyone tell you about them?
They were sent to be washed, but the washers noticed, signs.
How do you know about these signs? Did someone examine them?
No, they were only to be washed, But when the signs of illness were spotted, the abbot ordered them locked away in the hops store. Ludolf promised he'd send one of his men to guard the door. No one is to go near them.
That was highly irresponsible. Someone needs to examine them thoroughly. We can't afford uncertainty.
You want to bring them to the infirmary with the others? No. No, let them stay locked away somewhere separate.
Are you afraid the other sick might get even worse? At least we could have them all in one place.
Was anyone else there besides Elijah?
No, or at least no one I know of. I'll leave you to it now. If you need me, I'll be with the sick.
I'm going to. Disease? Fire? What next? A swarm of locusts?
First they ransacked my room, now I don't like it one bit.
Do you think the fire's got anything to do with what they were after in your chambers?
Who knows? I feel like someone wants us gone, and they're trying to frighten us into leaving.
All the more reason to get to the bottom of this.
But I can hardly go poking around myself to find out what really happened.
Don't worry. That's what I'm here for.
Well, maybe Zacharias was right after all. You never know when an aid like that might come in handy. So, what's your plan?
Quite a few things, actually. What about the corpses? You said you wanted to examine them.
And that's what I'll do. We can't afford doubts when there's a deadly illness spreading.
But Benedict said the abbot forbade it, and that one of the knights is watching over them.
If he's got any sense at all, he'll understand this is serious. A proper diagnosis is key to the next step.
Someone searched our room just a while ago, and who knows what they'd do if they caught you wandering around alone. I won't have that on my conscience. Better you stay here, and I'll sort it somehow.
So what you're saying is, use an unorthodox approach.
Well, I'm no physician like you, but I've learned a lot about the illness. I could say I'm your apprentice.
That won't be enough.
Then I'll explain to him the same way you did to me. We need to examine them and find out what was wrong with them, or we'll never get anywhere with treatment.
That's probably best. But you must examine them thoroughly. And don't be repulsed.
So, what exactly should I be looking for?
Anything unusual. You know well the symptoms the sick here have, but a keen eye may spot other signs too. If you're not sure, just try to remember what you saw. If you describe it to me later, I should be able to identify it.
I should probably speak with the lay brother who pulled the bodies out of the flames.
Elijah, right? But be gentle. No one should have to go through what he did last night.
I'll take a look around the burned-down shed. There might still be some clues.
Good idea. It might have just been an accident, but it won't hurt to make sure.
I can't think of anything else.
Nor can I. Well then, best of luck.
What's that? I must be mad.
Hey! You took something from him! I saw it!
Huh? Hey, get out of here! Bloody hell. We're under quarantine, didn't you hear?
I'm investigating the source of that illness that's been spreading around here. And I could use your learned knowledge.
I'm listening.
I came across the symbol of the Kingdom of Jerusalem during my investigation, and I was wondering if you might have any records or anything that might be connected to it.
If memory serves, something should definitely be here. I even dabbled in it myself long ago. We have the legacy of a knight named Boleslav Bavor, who journeyed through the Holy Land and visited Jerusalem. There was some connection to the monastery crypt, if I recall.
Really? Because I actually came across it in the crypt.
What? What are you talking about?
Well, I ran into some laborers down there. From what I gathered, they were trying to rob some of the graves, and they were looking for something tied to the Jerusalem cross.
By Christ, they were after the relic.
What are you talking about? What relic?
There's a possibility that Bavor was buried here along with a certain relic. That's what got me interested back then.
What exactly did you discover back then?
Not much. That's why I soon gave it up. Aside from the travel records of Sir Bavor, there wasn't any further mention of anything that might be connected. In the end, I concluded that the whole tale of the relic was likely just Bavor's own fabrication.
But why would the workers suddenly be looking for it now? How could they have found out?
It's certainly a strange coincidence. Then again, there are all sorts of lies and half-truths circulating out there about our monastery, unfortunately. Especially tales of long-sealed treasures and hidden cellars full of silver. If even a sliver of it were true...
It still feels like too much of a coincidence to me.
You'd be surprised what people will believe when tempted by the prospect of riches. And we don't have any better explanation right now. Either way, we must report it to the abbot without delay. Robbing the dead is disgraceful.
You're right. The abbot ought to be told, but it's probably not wise to burden him with it now. Right now, we need to deal with the illness. Once things have settled down, we can make sure those thieves get what they deserve. Besides, we've got almost no proof yet. If I manage to investigate the matter of Bavor more thoroughly, I might stumble on something.
Still, it's a serious thing. We mustn't wait too long.
Of course. Once I've gathered the evidence, I'll explain everything to the abbot straight away. And now I'd like to take a proper look at Bavor's travel records.
Of course. Give me a few moments. I'll find them for you. And I believe Bavor's name also appeared in some old accounts. I'll try to track those down too. Journey through the Holy Land. And I've also found these old accounts. Feel free to study them too. I'm curious myself what conclusion you'll come to, if any.
Oh. It really says here that he acquired a holy relic. Let's see how it continues. according to the journal, Bavor had himself buried here with his holy treasure. That sounds pretty clear. Let's see what the accounts say. So Bavor gave the monastery a generous donation and paid for a chapel mural painting. And still, despite all the records and mentions, Crispin had his doubts. Why? Kitty! Kitty!
Well, are you still so enamored with Lord...
I read the journal. A lovely tale. It really brought the Holy Land to life.
And?
And it says the relic Bavor acquired was a splinter from the true cross of Christ.
Holy Virgin! Such a sacred treasure!
And according to the book, Sir Boleslav was to be buried with the relic in the monastery crypt.
So it says in the book. I also found my old notes and remembered how it all went back then. I too searched for Bavor's grave. I even dared venture into the crypt, but despite all my efforts, I never found it.
And what did you do after that?
Once I was convinced none of the graves belonged to Bavor, I laid the matter before the abbot, but not our father Jan. This was over 20 years ago when Abbot Vitus held office. May the Lord grant him eternal peace. Together we came to the conclusion that Bavor's tale was likely at least partly, perhaps entirely, made up.
Why would it be made up? Surely Sir Boleslav wouldn't lie about something so serious.
The book's one thing, but there's not a single other mention anywhere. The grave's missing, the relic's nowhere to be found. Can you think of another explanation, then?
And then there's the relic. If Bavor had just wanted to raise his reputation with a good story, why claim to have gained something so rare?
Perhaps out of vanity? There's no shortage of that among the nobility.
But his tale's already heroic enough without it. Making up a relic would only draw unwanted attention.
That's a good point. It'd be too risky.
The account books mention that Bavor had a sarcophagus made at his own expense.
That's possible. Does it mean anything?
If he paid for it himself, there had to be a reason. Masonry work like that is no small matter. And it's odd, isn't it? He sorted it all out in detail with the monastery to have his tomb here. Then he wasn't even buried here.
You're right. I never made that connection before.
But why would Bavor do that? What would he gain by deceiving everyone here?
If memory serves, he had some disputes over property. Maybe he wanted to improve his reputation.
Well, that's mentioned in the text. But lies wouldn't have helped him. Quite the opposite, if he'd been found out.
You'd be surprised how short-sighted some folk can be. But I agree, something about it doesn't sit right.
And what about the mural mentioned in the accounts? Does it really exist?
Yes, it's in one of the chapel naves. It depicts several scenes from Bavor's alleged adventures.
Well, then that proves Bavor's story wasn't just made up. Surely the abbot back then wouldn't have approved such a mural in the main church if he hadn't believed it was true.
If the former abbot believed Bavor wasn't a liar, but a real hero of the Holy Land, I'll believe him too.
All the more reason I want to see it for myself.
No harm in trying. At the very least, it's a fine piece of work.
Bavor mentions in his journal that he received a great fortune from the King of Cyprus, and the account records say he gave a generous donation to the monastery. Do you think that was made up too?
They confirm at best that Bavor had wealth, not where it came from. According to the late Abbot Vitus, he might have gained that fortune by plundering or as spoils of war, and the tale of the Holy Land was just a cover to mask the dishonorable origin of his riches.
Well, I've never been to the Holy Land, but I've seen plenty of wrongdoings, even here in Bohemia. And if Bavor really wanted to cover up how he got his coin, he could have built a village, built a fortress, or who knows, bought up a mine. He could have done any number of smarter things than spinning a tale about a heroic journey halfway across the world, don't you think?
I'm no expert in fraud, but yes, he chose a rather complicated cover-up if that's what it was.
The crypt has a hidden side chamber, you know.
Excuse me? What chamber?
It had been walled up. In one part of the crypt, the masonry was loose, so I managed to get inside.
I've never heard of anything like that. Perhaps even Abbot Vitus didn't know of it.
I'd say the abbot would definitely have known about something like that. He just didn't tell you. Maybe on purpose.
Where are you going with this?
I'm not sure. Just thinking out loud, really. Don't you think this whole thing is a bit too complicated? Every explanation for why Bavor would lie seems more convoluted than just acknowledging it's true.
Listening to you now, it's like hearing my younger self. And I sound exactly like Abbot Vitus. His view was that Bavor's story was fiction. He told me I'd be better off letting it go.
What exactly did he say?
That I should stop chasing old crusaders and focus on real, meaningful work.
Why didn't you stand your ground?
I couldn't argue with the abbot. What he said went. And I was just a lowly monk, barely past my vows. I had to obey. In time, I learned to let some things lie. Those who dig too deep may uncover what they'd rather not.
I'm not blaming you. But I think it's time we reopened that old inquiry of yours and saw it through. And maybe we'll finally unravel Bavor's mystery together.
If that relic really does exist, and it's surfaced now, it'd surely be a sign from the Lord, a sign of hope in these desperate times.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We've not even found Bavor's tomb. Without it, we're stuck.
But you spoke of that hidden chamber in the crypt. If there's any clue, it'll be in there. Take this and study it closely. It's a drawing of Bavor's family coat of arms I came across years ago. According to this, you'll know if it's truly the grave of Sir Boleslav. Yes, the mural in the chapel, paid for by Bavor himself, also bears his coat of arms.
Those workers, if they really were after Bavor, they only had a drawing of the Jerusalem cross. But if he was buried under his family crest, No wonder they opened the wrong graves.
Yes, that could be it. Study that sketch well, so you won't make the same mistake.
Thank you. I'll head off at once.
Just be careful, please. You know the abbot's orders, the disease, all this misfortune.
Don't worry. I'll be careful.
And in the crypt, show respect to the eternal rest of those buried there, especially now, with death haunting the monastery.